Tii Item 501, December 19th, 2020. iOS 14.3 Goldmaster, 14.4 Beta 1, plus Airpods Max. In this episode, we talk about iOS and iPad OS 14.3 Goldmaster and Beta 1 for 14.4, iPhone 12s, the new Airpods Max, the Cydia Lawsuit, plus listener feedback and more, all covered in depth starting after the intro.
Welcome to Today in iPhone.
I like it a lot.
Today in iPhone.
Hey, caller!
Oh yeah!
My beautiful iPhone, which I never have out of my hand and that I do everything with and has become an extension of who I am.
Today's episode is brought to you by Storyworth. Get started right away with no shipping required by going to storyworth.com/TII. You'll get $10 off your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/TII for $10 off. Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Rob, and you are listening to the Today in iOS podcast. First up, I want to thank Chemo for sending in the music you hear in the background. Chemo wrote, "Hello, Rob. Hope you're doing well. Here's a track for your consideration to use on your podcast. The song is titled In Order of Disappearance. I created it on my iPad Air with GarageBand. The song is also available on Apple Music. Being a blind musician, I cannot be anything but grateful to Apple for creating a music production platform that is accessible to even visually impaired music makers like me. All the best, Chemo S from Tampere, Finland, or Tampere, Finland, and I'm sure I mispronounced it, and I'm sorry about that, Chemo. And thanks, Chemo, for the music. And folks, I will put the full song at the end of the episode and a link in the show notes to it at Apple Music. I also want to thank my family for the artwork for today's show. This is the picture used for our Christmas cards, and it was taken in February while on vacation right before COVID. The picture was cropped and text added via the Photoshop Express app, and it, well, is fitting for the end of 2020. And if you look closely at the t-shirt on my one son Porter, you would see, well, an ominous sign for things to come. In any case, Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays. Folks, you can see this artwork in the free Tii app via the bonus button for episode 501 or at instagram.com/todayios and also at facebook.com/todayios. If you have some artwork and or music that you have created on your iOS device that you would like to share with the audience, please email it to me at todayios@gmail.com. Please make sure to include which app or apps you use to create said artwork and or music.
Good afternoon, Rob. It's Tom from New York. On your app, I can't read anything past episode 500. Am I doing something wrong, or is there no further addition? Need your help. Thank you.
To Tom and others that asked, sorry there was no new episode in November because we did the move into our new house, and it was a lot more work on the house than expected. Still is. There is deferred maintenance, and then there is what we moved into. As my wife says, the time I think it will take to do something is always less than what is needed, which in turn is more than the time actually available. That said, 2021 should bring back some normalcy to the release of the show. Thanks for your patience in 2020. Okay, now let's start off with the most recent big news, and that is the introduction and launch of the Airpods Max. These are over-the-ear headphones, which often are referred to as cans, and never has that been so close to the truth, as these are all aluminum shells that go over your ears. You have the color choices of space gray, silver, green, sky blue, and pink, and they will run you a cool $549. Yes, that's more than any of the current iPods, or any of the HomePods, or any Apple TVs, or the iPad or iPad mini, or various iPhones, or, well, lots of other Apple products. The Max in the Airpods Max name, I think it has more to do with what happens to your credit card if you buy one than anything else. But hey, at least the engraving is free. When they announced these, I went online, read up about them, and even thought, well, I have a podcast, and it would be a tax write-off. And I still was on the fence about buying them. A few hours later, said fence was ripped out from under me, as the lead time shot to 12 to 14 weeks for all various versions, which is where it is now. So if you are unsure if these will be for you, well, you have lots of time to figure it out. Per what you get with the Airpods Max, they offer both active noise cancellation plus transparency mode, same as the AirPods Pro. They also offer spatial audio with an iPhone or iPad, again, same as the AirPods Pro. The battery life is 20 hours, which is better than the Pros, but, and this is a big but, the case for the Max does not charge them. And with the Pros, you can charge one at a time. Per charging of the Max, it is via Apple's Lightning port, and that is the only port on there. There is no 3.5 millimeter or also known as 1/8 inch port to do wired listening. Actually, if you want to do wired listening, you can, but you need to spend another $35 for the Lightning to 3.5 millimeter cable, which really is a must buy for anyone that's getting these. So really, I would say, think of the price not as $549, but rather $584 plus tax. They do come with the Lightning to USB-C charging cord, but no charging brick. And the other thing you get is the, quote, smart case, unquote. What makes it smart? Question mark? No, really, I'm asking you, because it is just, well, a case from what I can see. Some, or really many on the internet, said case looks like a bra. But to me, it looks more like Garfield's eyes. Pun intended. In any case, the case is large. And if you have, say, the Quiet Comfort 2 headphones you traveled with, these are going to take up much more room in your laptop bag. Back to the headphones themselves. They weigh in at 385 grams, and they are made of heavy aluminum. To put that in perspective, the Beats Studio 3 wireless headphones, which cost just $349 and comes with the W1 chip and 22 hours of listening, weigh in at 260 grams, which is about 2/3 the weight of the Max. Per noise cancellation, Apple put 8 microphones on these to offer up what they claim is superior noise cancellation performance. It has 2 H1 chips, Bluetooth 5.0, a digital crown for control, and a button for switching between transparency mode and noise cancellation. The reviews came out a couple days before they started shipping, and here are the end of a couple of those reviews. Quote, whether Apple has actually done enough here to justify the staggering premium over the competition is an open question that it'll take us a little more time reviewing to answer, unquote, The Verge. Quote, is that enough to convince people to part with $550? Like we say, we'll have to spend more time with the AirPods Max to find out, unquote, Tech Radar. Overall, the one general theme by all the reviewers is this. They have a hard time justifying the price. They will point out the great build and audio quality, but then none of them seem to be able to justify the price. And these are people worried about stepping on Apple's toes. And the reality is this. If you are on the fence about getting them now, don't worry. As I said, the fence is actually gone. They are not available for 12 to 14 weeks, which means plenty of time to get more real-world reviewers who are not worried about stepping on Apple's toes with a harsh review to chime in. As I would guess, a small number were shipping before Christmas. If you are part of that small number, please give us a call with your review, 206-666-6364. That's 206 Moondog. And make sure to use them when recording the message, which you can also do directly on your iOS device and email it to todayinios@gmail.com. Would love to hear the audio quality of a recording from them. I did also see in the reviews multiple people mentioning the Sony WH-1000XM4 headphones as a nice naming there, Sony. Headphones as a lower cost alternative, which run just under $300 typical, but the MSRP is $349. The Sonys also have 30 hours of wireless life versus the Airpods Max 20. Again, the Max name is more about what it does to your credit card. But the Sonys obviously do not have Apple's chips and will not connect as seamlessly to your Apple devices as the Max will. So, all that said and done, yeah, sheepishly I will say I'm likely going to buy them when they become available again. assuming I can use them in wired mode and plug them into my MacBook Pro to use them for editing audio. I want to thank Storyworth for sponsoring today's episode. I'm an actual Storyworth customer going back to 2016 when I first purchased this for my father and then later for my mother. For many of us, this year's holidays will look a lot different. We are not going anywhere as we are social distancing, and I'm sure many of you and your family get-together plans have changed as well. But that does not stop us from wanting to be with family and getting to know family. And getting out to purchase something for family has never been more stressful or difficult. Storyworth is something that addresses all of this. Storyworth is where they will send you or someone you choose a different question each week throughout the year. And at the end of the year, they'll pull it all together and make a very nice hardcover printed book with the answers. Some of those answers may surprise family members, like when my mom talked about how her parents would threaten her growing up in Brooklyn, saying the men in the big black cars would come and take her away if she did not behave. The stories are priceless, or I guess child abuse, depending on when and where you grew up. How Storyworth works is pretty simple. 1, you purchase a subscription for someone you love, and each week, Storyworth sends them an email with a question about their life. 2, they simply reply to this email with their story, or they can answer in the app or on the website, or even upload photos. All stories are private and only shared with family that you choose. 3, after a year, the stories will be bound in a beautiful keepsake book that is shipped for free. When the questions are done and the hardcover book is ready, you can then purchase additional copies. So if, like me, you do this for someone who is a grandparent, then you can buy copies for each grandchild, who can then pass them on to great-grandkids and great-great-great-grandkids and so on. This is a great legacy book that will be passed on to future generations, and one thing is for sure, the 2020 timeframe is one our ancestors will be very interested in hearing about. If you are looking for a great last-minute gift and one that keeps giving for a whole year, Storyworth is something I highly recommend. Give your loved ones the gift of spending time together, wherever you live, with Storyworth. Get started right away with no shipping required by going to storyworth.com/TII. You'll get $10 off your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/TII for $10 off. Always fun when you get a sponsor that you were already a customer of.
About the power brick headphone issue, even though I have a drawer of I don't know how many sets of Apple earbuds that I haven't used, still got the ones that I do use, and the overall, the power bricks, you never have enough if you have enough devices. And the headphones, you have too many. But the bottom line is, if you're going to chuck out $1,000 for a phone, the least you could do is provide a way to listen to it quietly and a way to charge it. To me, that seems like you're penny pinching the small stuff that people always need and don't think about. It's one thing that like everybody needs. Hey, do you have a place to charge my phone? It's one of those things that you always need and you never think of, but to have the prices keep going up to where I paid, $1,100 for an iPhone X. I still have that one, and I have 2. So, and if I got those and I still had to chuck out money for a brick to charge it at whatever they want to charge, I've been allowed to bought one from them, but what is it like? I don't know. Whatever the case may be, I just think it's penny pinching. It's a bad look, and that really sucks. Thanks.
Thanks for the voicemail message, and I can't disagree with you. A little update. Some asked which iPhone 12 I purchased, and short answer is I did not. Not because I did not want to get one, but rather because when I looked at T-Mobile's 5G coverage, I am sitting in the middle of a dead zone with 0 5G coverage. So for me, when I will not be traveling until realistically September 2021, I did not see the reason to get a 5G phone where I will never be able to even get the use of the 5G part. 5G is going to be really important to me about a year from now when I get back traveling again, both for work and to see family. That is when 5G will really kick in for my need. And my iPhone XS Max is working great. So I decided I would wait until 2021. iPhone Max came out with hopefully 120 hertz refresh rate for the screen and support for Apple Pencil or some other cool new features. And maybe by then T-Mobile will also get 5G coverage to the area of Tennessee that I am now living in, where my house is located. But I am smack dab in the middle of a dead zone for 5G here in Tennessee.
Hey, Rob, this is Ryan from Seattle. It's about 6 p.m. on Tuesday, the day of the iPhone 12 announcement. I don't have all the info. I saw a bit of the announcement online, and I've read some headlines, read some articles, but I don't have all the info regarding the new phones that were announced. I am liking the 12 mini. That looks to be a really cool device. That's probably the one that I will be pre-ordering. Little bummed that the pre-order doesn't start till November something. I was hoping they would be available the day after tomorrow, or I guess Friday morning, as the others, or the iPhone 12 will be, and the iPhone 12 Pro. But the Pro phones, both the Pro and the Pro Max, those look to be legitimate professional cameras now. Not like the cameras were bad before, because they weren't, but they just keep improving on that, and pretty sweet phones. And I don't know if I need that professional camera. And plus they start at $1,000 and go up from there. So I'm looking forward to the iPhone 12 mini, but that also starts at, if I get the 128 gigs, it starts at $770 or something like that, around there. Anyways, looking forward to see what you have to say about it. I'm about to listen to your newest episode right now. All right, Rob, take care. Later.
Ryan, thanks for the feedback. And into the email bag we go. Hi, Rob. I used the Apple Store app to pre-order the iPhone 12 Pro 256 gig today. I then go back to the App Store app at 5 a.m. Pacific time to finalize. Pretty slick. Regards, Mike. And hi, Rob. I have been a long-time Android user. However, I am getting the iPhone 12 Pro. I pre-ordered it from Verizon a couple days ago. Delivery is supposed to be around November 18th. I'm getting the iPhone 12 Pro in Pacific Blue 256 gig. And this is from Joe Fisher in Kalispell, Montana. We have this email. Hi, Rob. I upgraded from an iPhone 7 Plus to the iPhone 12 Pro last week. I love the 12 Pro, but I'm having one problem. All of my apps' data and settings moved across flawlessly, but I'm noticing some, but not most, of my apps are no longer showing up on my screen notifications, specifically the Weather Channel and AP News updates. I've gone into settings and then notifications and discovered there's been no change in the notification settings. I've deleted the apps, downloaded them again, allowed for notifications, but I'm just still not seeing them. I still have Wi-Fi access on my old 7 Plus, and the notification for those apps are still coming through on that phone, but still not my new 12 Pro. Is this an iOS 14 glitch? Can anyone help me with this? I don't know if this will be a problem for my Tii notifications yet, because if it is, that will be a tragedy. Thanks for your help, Brent in Greensboro, North Carolina. Well, Brent, hopefully you'll find out now if it's still an issue with the Tii app. I had heard from some others they were having issues. And we'll talk about iOS 14.3 here soon, so it really depends if you've updated to the most recent version of iOS. And then one last email on this topic. Hi, Rob. Thanks for the show. It's T-minus 1 hour and 5 minutes. And then I'm ordering an iPhone 12 Pro Max Graphite 512 gig. Regards, Eric R. Well, thanks everyone for your feedback. And I had others. But I want to say this. I am not against the iPhone 12. It's just, for me, with no 5G, it really made it tough for me to buy it. And I'm envious of you folks that did get it and have good 5G reception. In November, Apple notified developers that they would need to include privacy details with their apps via a nutrition label, quote unquote. From December 8th, this rule has come into place for all new apps, although apps already on the store won't be removed for not having it. But once they submit an update, it will be required going forward. And with iOS 14.3, you can now see the actual app nutrition label more widely in action. Apple also said the privacy label will apply to Apple's own apps, those native apps not in the App Store. And what Apple is or will do is put up some sort of web page and list the nutrition labels for all their native apps. It will be interesting to see what they say for the Apple Podcast app, as while Apple may not be tracking users, some podcasts like Yang Speaks does track listeners' private info. which is ironic as Andrew Yang was a big proponent of consumer privacy and Prop 24, which passed in California. Yet on his own podcast, it's out there doing exactly what he said he was fighting against. I'm guessing he has no idea, and his podcast production company just needs to be fired, but that's just a guess and benefit of the doubt for Andrew. Privacy is a big deal for me, and I hate to see privacy advocates not eating their own dog food. And speaking of privacy, in 2021, Apple will launch a long-awaited privacy feature, App Tracking Transparency, known as ATT. But right now, you can add additional privacy for your iOS device by going to Settings, then to Privacy and Tracking. Here, you can turn off the ability to allow apps to request to track you across apps and websites owned by other companies. Sadly, this will not apply for podcasts that choose to track and stalk listeners like Yang Speaks. But for all not podcast apps, Apple explains if you allow apps to ask to track, any app that attempts to ask you for permission will be blocked from asking and automatically informed that you have requested not to be tracked, quote unquote. In your privacy settings, you can go to Analytics and Improvements and toggle off data sharing there as well. While I am one that is looking forward to increased consumer privacy when Apple rolls out ATT, which means you have to opt in to be tracked, Facebook really, really hates it. So much so that they are taking out newspaper ads against it and have pop-up banners in some of their apps against it. They have been so vocal of late, Tim Cook felt the need to address it on Twitter, saying the following, quote, "We believe users should have the choice over the data that is being collected about them and how it is used. Facebook can continue to track users across apps and websites as before. App tracking transparency is in iOS 14 will just require that they ask for your permission first," unquote. Except, well, Apple's own podcast app and podcasts like Yang Speaks or Ben Shapiro Show, which will keep on tracking users with no ability to opt in for said tracking. Don't worry, TII does not and will never track you like that. But outside of Apple's podcast app and all other podcast apps, users will get the choice to have the opt-in to be tracked. Seems Facebook might look at that hole in privacy from podcast apps as a way to argue that their app should not be required to ask for an opt-in. But I digress. Tim, if you're listening, you really need to close that hole on podcast apps. Just saying. For now, folks, the only podcast aggregator app I can recommend for use is Overcast. Overcast currently is the only one that shows you what podcasts might be tracking you. For example, in Overcast, search for Today in iOS, then tap on it, then tap on Privacy. You will see this show is not tracking you at all. But search for iOS Today, for example, tap on it, you will see Privacy and Tracking. Tap on it, and you will see that listeners are being tracked by Podsites, Chartable, and Megaphone. You have no idea who those companies are, and then sharing your personal info with from there. None of the listeners for iOS Today ever had the chance or opportunity to opt into that tracking. But at least Overcast lets you know which podcasts are like that. For now, again, if you're listening to podcasts and at all care about your privacy, use the Overcast app, check out the show's privacy and tracking to see if it is a podcast you want to listen to. But my advice, don't listen to any that say both privacy and tracking. They don't respect your privacy. Let's look now at what is live or new with iOS 14.3. As mentioned, you can see the privacy and nutrition labels. And if you go to Facebook app in the App Store and scroll down to app privacy and click details, you'll be amazed by how much tracking is going on with Facebook app, including for third-party advertising, which includes info on your activity per purchases, financial info, location, contact info, contacts, user content, including photos, videos and gameplay content, search history, browsing history, user ID, device ID, usage data, and other data. And that is all just for what they let third-party advertisers have access to of yours. Yikes! No wonder Facebook is up in arms about Apple letting users opt into said tracking. It's a nightmare, the info on you that Facebook gives to said mysterious third-party advertisers. Stepping away from privacy, the launch of iOS 14.3 brings support for Fitness Plus, and for those with the iPhone 12 Pro and Pro Max, ProRAW image support, feature support is included. ProRAW is a 12-bit file that uses the linear DNG format to retain more information and dynamic range in the file, provided additional flexibility when editing exposure and white balance. Each file is approximately 25 meg. Remember all my snide comments about 128, not enough gigabytes? Yeah. When getting a new iPhone, go for the top-end storage if you plan to have it for 2 or 3 years. Additionally, with 14.3 is Airpods Max support. There's also support for launching apps clips by scanning app clip codes via the camera. TV app improvements. Health app now has the ability to indicate pregnancy or track pregnancy, lactation, and or contraceptive use within the cycle tracking. Well, if it's saying you're indicating you're pregnant, and contraceptive use, maybe they weren't tied together. Anyway, I digress. The weather apps gets updates per air quality data, including for locations in China mainland. And just label it bad and you're done, Apple. Oh, and for those waiting for the magic words, release the hounds for iOS 14.3. Yes, you can release the hounds. I have seen very few reports of issues, and those are very minor and far fewer than the other single dot updates 5 days afterwards. Almost all are saying 14.3 runs as well, if not better, than 14.2 and 14.1. It has lots of security updates and bug fixes and brings in many new features. This single dot update seems to be a good one, stability and performance-wise. Yes, again, release the hounds on 14.3 and for watch OS 7.2. Then 2 days after Apple updated to 14.3 Goldmaster for the masses, Apple released to devs 14.4 Beta 1 for iOS, iPadOS, and tvOS, plus Beta 1 for watch OS 7.3. What is new is probably the most surprising for it being a single dot update, which is apparently for features nothing or almost nothing. It seems to be more like a double dot update with security and bug fixes, with the one confirmed new feature being support for the transfer of songs to the new HomePod minis from an iPhone 11 or 12. This is where both have the U1 chip. So this is a feature you need to have both the HomePod mini and either the iPhone 11 or 12s. Like I said, very limited feature update for a single dot update. That said, Apple is known to add features in Beta 2 and 3 and expect new features in early January when Apple goes to Beta 2 of all of these.
Good afternoon, Rob. This is Tom from New York, a long-time listener. I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max, 14.2. Is it possible to jailbreak that iPhone? If so, let me know. If not, let me know. Anyway, I'll be listening. Have a great day.
Hi, Tom. Thanks for the voicemail. And unfortunately for an iPhone 11, as near as I can tell, when you look at checkra1n, jailbreak, it does not work for iPhone 11s and 12s with iOS 14 installed. Second, I just ask, why are you looking to jailbreak? I mean, I know it was great in the old days, but I'm not seeing why people need to jailbreak at this point in time. That said, when we talk about jailbreaking, I want to bring up the lawsuit from Jay Freeman, a.k.a. Surik, who ran the Cydia Jailbreak App Store. And I don't often talk about lawsuits, but in this case, I thought it was okay. Quote, this lawsuit seeks to open up the markets for iOS app distribution and iOS app payment processing to those who wish to compete fairly with Apple and to recover the enormous damages Apple caused, unquote. This is really a money grab lawsuit. Hear me out. Apple is not a monopoly. They are less than 20% of the smartphone space. And think about these questions. Which platform is more secure, iOS or Android? It almost sounds like a ridiculous question, like which is bigger? Which one's bigger, Andre the Giant or Webster? Or who has a better quarterback, the Kansas City Chiefs or the Bayport Blue Point Phantoms? No offense, Luke, but even your mom is not going to pick you. Here's another question. Which platform do developers make more money from? This one, people might not know offhand, but let's look into this a little bit. The first half of 2020, there was approximately $50.1 billion worldwide app revenue, where Android was at $17.3 billion of that versus $32.8 billion for iOS. In 2018, total revenue for iOS app, according to Sensor Tower, who also supplied the other data, was $46 billion versus Android at $24.8 billion. So given all these numbers, Apple has consistently been around twice the total revenue for devs as Android, even though Android is 5 times the installed user base. So yes, Android 5 times the installed user base, Apple twice the revenue. Apple paid $38.75 billion to devs in 2019, over $155 billion to devs through the end of 2019 all time. Again, explain to me how Apple's approach has hurt devs. Sorry, rhetorical question. You can't. Apple created an ecosystem of trust and privacy. People are more likely to spend money when they feel safe. I think this can be summed up very nicely from one of the best TV shows ever. To quote from The Mandalorian via the next to last episode of season 2, quote, "Everybody thinks they want freedom, but what they really want is order," unquote. Well, I'm not trying to say Apple is the empire, but they do provide order in the Apple ecosystem. And from that perspective, the imperial officer that said those words is very much correct. Maybe Apple is more like the old Republic, where the Jedis ruled and preserved order. In any case, Apple does bring order, safety, and trust and privacy to the end users. And it's because of that, the end users are willing to pay for apps or in apps. Everything Apple does with respect to their App Store has been both for the good of the end user and ultimately the good of the devs. Don't get me wrong, Cydia served its purpose early on. It was where jailbreakers could go to see all the neat features that could be possible and where to get an app, say, to tether your laptop to your iPhone before carriers allowed that. And it seems to be where Apple engineers went as well for inspiration on what features they had. Back in the early days, Android was not the competition, and Cydia was needed for inspiration and to push Apple to innovate. Android provides that incentive today. While I'm not against jailbreaking, and have never been against it, and was the first podcast to be pro-jailbreaking, much to the detriment of the show, Apple didn't like that. Today, however, I am not one that can say why the average user would need to jailbreak. And per the Cydia lawsuit, I just don't see how it has merit. Apple did not target Cydia when they patched the exploits used to jailbreak. They just targeted the exploits. Now I'll open this up to the audience. Are you still jailbreaking? If you are someone that is still jailbreaking, give us a call, 206-666-6364, or shoot an email to todayinios@gmail.com. Tell me why you are still jailbreaking. Tom, what's the reason that you want to jailbreak? What is the feature or app or what is it that makes you want to jailbreak your iOS device?
Hey, Rob. It's Justin in Pennsylvania. I wanted to give my final impression / comments on iOS 14. I just want to say I still really like it. I lived with it all summer. It was a pretty stable beta. As far as I've had, it's also been a very stable 0.0 release. I haven't had bad battery drain. People can now customize their home screens with using certain apps and some hacks, so you can have those weird theme things that you never been able to do before. So I think younger people are going to enjoy that. But overall, I really like it. There's a lot of accessibility features. in there that you can find that are neat, such as that shortcuts. So if you guys don't know that, it's definitely worth looking into. Overall, I really like the update. You can finally make the home screen look a little bit more like you, not just a grid of apps. I got rid of my grid of apps. I like the app library. Because I just search for everything anyway, so now everything's hidden in my app library except for the apps that I need on my home screen all the time. My home screen's cleaner. I get a glance at the weather on my home screen. The home screen's finally cleaner and giving me more information than it ever has before. So I think that's a win at the end of the day. All in all, I really like the update. Thank you very much, Rob. Have a great day. Can't wait for the next show. Thanks. Bye.
Justin, as always, thanks for the feedback. Into the email bag we go again. Hi, Rob, longtime listener from your first year. I ordered the 44mm iWatch 6.0 titanium black with Milanese loop band. Went all out as had a 3 with cracked screen, 3 years old. Ordered Tuesday, September 15th, launch day night. Received it Monday, September 21st, and the afternoon. Lightning fast. I was shocked it came that early, as Apple showed the 29th of that month. Approximate arrival. Easy to set up with cellular. Better than I thought it was going to be. On my iPhone 8, but be sure to update all apps and back up your current iPhone to cloud if updating and installing a new watch. Delete and remove the old watch from your phone first, then install the new one fresh install. Cellular updating to the new phone is embedded into the setup and no need to call AT&T to have the new watch set up with your previous number. It's all synced with previous apps and settings, including cell number. If any Apple Pay is in your old watch, it will be deleted and removed from Apple Pay. I got a notice from my iPhone and email that a card on my watch was removed. You'll need to reinstall Apple Pay credit cards to the new watch. I love everything about the new watch. Size, new features, wash your hands, and health features like heart and EKG and O2 levels, sleep, and other features for monitoring your well-being. I now get lots of new watch faces. I love everything except always on, which I hate. As of the time of the setup, this 2 p.m. Monday, 9 a.m. Tuesday, the battery is, so I set up at the time, 2 p.m. on Monday. At 9 a.m. on Tuesday, the battery's at 35%. And even sleep mode, shutting down the always on screen for 6.5 hours, now eking out 2 days of battery life, is over. I hope Apple will make a change in the settings in the future updates to allow choice to raise to C and always on. Those of us that don't need always on can turn it off to conserve and save battery life, and rather than having to recharge more often. Thanks. Love your show. Liked your interview with Ken Ray. Can't wait for the launch of the new iPhone next month. Plan on replacing my 8 with a 12, 256 gig blue. Best regards, Phil Coward. Well, thanks, Phil.
Yeah, I just wanted to know, this new software on iPhone, what is this yellow thing? Can you get rid of this dot that's in the right-hand corner? My name is Doug. Thank you. Have a good one. Bye.
Hi, Doug. Thanks for the voicemail message. And the yellow or orange dot that you are seeing up there means that your microphone is being activated. Something is using your mic to listen to the environment. Could be you're on a phone call, and that would be the case. Anytime you're on a phone call, that orange dot would be there. If it's a green dot, that means your microphone and your camera are being active. So if your camera is being used, it's going to be a green dot. If your microphone is being used by an app, it's the yellow dot. And if you're not on the phone and you have no apps that you know of that are running, something's running in the background using your microphone. So you want to look at all your apps that are running in the background to see which one of them is using your microphone. Back to the email bag and an update from Phil. Hi, Rob. Updating on testing Watch 6 battery life. I hate always on, so I'm testing battery life with always on, all alerts and notifications on, and reducing the brightness to the lowest level amount. I got 30 hours. down to the critical 9% battery life, so about 3% usage per hour in that setting with always on, and the brightest level got maybe 12 to 14 hours before having to charge. I'm now testing battery life with most all notifications off except for a few apps and critical health apps on, and changed raise to wake in settings and brightness to lowest level. We'll let you know an outcome in a day or two. Regards, Phil Coward.
Hey, Rob, this is Gil from Boston. I have a question. Is there any way to delete an exercise session from my iPhone or Apple Watch? I have the exercise app as one of the buttons on my watch home screen because I tend to do a lot of exercise sessions. But occasionally I will inadvertently tap that icon, or it might be hit by a spray of water while I'm washing or showering. And then 5 minutes later, I look down at my watch and it says it's recording an outdoor walk or some other an indoor bike ride or something like that. Or it might say, are you still walking? Should I pause? And my only option is to go and hit the stop button and then hit the done button at the bottom of the screen. There's no cancel option and no way to say, just ignore this workout or delete this workout information. I can't even later go into the fitness app on the phone and delete the alleged workout that I didn't take. And I can't just leave the app and then come back and not say that I'm done, because when I come back later and I want to record a workout, when I open the app on my watch, it still has that bogus walk that I supposedly took several hours ago, and I can't bypass it to start a new one. It's ridiculous. Any other application in the world lets you quit, and when it says save your work, you can say, no, I don't want to save this. Why can't I do this with my workouts on the exercise app? Or am I missing something? Is there a way to do this that I haven't discovered yet? Anyway, love the show. Thanks, and hope the listeners can give me an answer to this. Take care. Bye.
Hi, Gil. Thanks for the voicemail. And this is a harder one to find. What you have to do on your iPhone, go into the Health app. On the summary page, scroll down to where it says Workouts. Tap on Workouts, then scroll down until it says Show All Data. Tap on that, and then you will see your workouts. Find the workout that you want, swipe to the left, and you can then delete. And it'll say delete workout and data or delete workout only. And you can say delete workout and data, and then it's gone. It's not obvious. It's not easy to find. But again, you can find it by going from summary, then get to workouts, scroll down on workouts, and go to where it says show all data. Find that workout in question, which may only be a few seconds, and then swipe it to the left, and you can wipe out that workout. Hope that helps. All right, back to the email bag, and we have another update from Phil. Hi, Rob. This is my third update on Watch 6 battery life, and final update here. I was able to turn off always on, and turning off always on and reducing the brightness to lowest setting, still bright enough to see in daylight, reducing some constant notices or notifications saved a bunch of juice. This put me at 13% after 40 hours and placed on the charger at 44 hours, with 9% needing the charge for the next morning. That's 2 full days and 1 night sleep with it on, tracking my daily walk for an hour, routines, and extra use on email and news notices. I recommend low brightness, axing some notices, and removing always on to increase battery life with little inconvenience, but keeping functionality. Always on is a battery hug. Keep up the good work, and again, welcome to the South. I'll know you'll enjoy Nashville. Best regards, Phil Coward. Well, hi, Phil. Thanks for the great feedback and for the welcoming to here in Tennessee. And glad you were able to turn off always on. For those looking at how to turn off always on, first on your Apple Watch, open settings. Then scroll down using the digital crown to display and brightness, select it, and then toggle off always on. That is what I plan to do when I get my next Apple Watch.
Hey there, Rob. It's Rob Usden from New Jersey, and I wanted to just give you some feedback on using third-party insurance with your carriers with your iPhone. And I heard another comment, something similar to this, about having third-party people do repairs. So I wanted to give you some feedback on this. From my experience is that if you have third-party insurance, which is typically what the carriers have, they don't usually place things themselves. They usually have a third party that handles all of the claims. My experience is this. My daughter had an iPhone, or still has an iPhone 7. It was paid off. We have it on Verizon. It was paid off with Verizon. Last year, the charging port started to not work intermittently. So I took it over to the Apple store, and they were able to look in the charging port, and they saw that there was a pin in the charging port bent. And so under my insurance, which I was paying Verizon for because I have a teenager and I figured I should pay for insurance in case something happens to her phone, because teenagers tend to be a bit more rough on their electronics. So Apple could not replace it, or they were willing to replace it, but for the cost of a replacement phone entirely instead of something like a deductible. So I called Verizon to get them to replace the phone. It took a little back and forth with them because they didn't understand that a charging port is also physical damage, even though they were saying that, well, it could be internal, but it was actually the charging port. And so, something had happened with the charging port and it wasn't working. So I did convince them to let it go through to insurance, and their insurance is through a company called Asurion, which is one of the largest third-party insurance for electronics, I believe in the United States or even the world. And Asurion did indeed replace the phone entirely with what is probably a refurbished phone. So you have to remember also that with these third-party folks, they refurbish the phones themselves. It is not an Apple certified refurb, and so you're taking your chances with that as well. So we did get a new iPhone 7 from her, or a replacement, so to speak. It was probably a refurb as far as I know. It was in fantastic shape. There was nothing wrong with it, no scratches, anything like that. But the thing you have to be careful with is when you get a replacement through a third party, even though it's through your carrier, with them using the third party, you have to be careful with them unlocking the phone. So fast forward to a couple months later, we decided to switch carriers. We switched to Xfinity Mobile, which resells Verizon much cheaper. My parents have Xfinity, so they were able to add our 3 phones to their account, and we were getting Verizon service essentially for much cheaper. So I get the SIM card in the mail, and I go to set up her phone with the new Xfinity SIM card, and Xfinity says the phone is locked to Verizon. Getting that replacement phone, even though the phone was paid off with Verizon, it was, which means that it should have been completely unlocked. The replacement phone was not unlocked. Now I have to call Verizon, sit on the phone with them for an hour and a half. By the time I get a supervisor and get that all handled, they did unlock the phone for me, and I was able to switch carriers. But I did want to caution people on that because of that exact reason, that if you are not, if you're getting a phone replaced through a third party, then you're not getting an Apple certified replacement, and you may still have some issue with unlocking the phone. That unlocking the phone thing might happen if you used Apple Care, but I'm thinking that the chances would be much less, because I think that the folks at the Apple store, if they were to give you a replacement, would probably be able to handle that. I'm not sure for certain, but it is something to think about. So I wanted to give you that feedback because that is something to be very careful with. Needless to say, on my new iPhone XR, I have Apple Care instead. All right, that's it. Love the show. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Rob, thanks so much for the feedback and advice. And good luck with the teenager. I know how that goes. I have one teenager now and one soon-to-be teenager with iPhones. What are you doing for the holidays?
I'm just serving up a few million playlists of holiday music, so pretty much anything with sleigh bells.
What are you doing for the holidays?
I'm hanging out with good King Westless. Wenzel's. Wireless. Wednesday?
What are you doing for the holidays?
I'm lighting up a few million front lawns with HomeKit. Ooh, someone just added a lamppost.
What are you doing for the holidays?
I'm 3D printing ugly Christmas sweaters.
What are you doing for the holidays?
I'm practicing being more helpful. I just like to help. Helping's my favorite.
What are you doing for the holidays?
I'm wassailing.
What are you doing for the holidays?
I've been trying to find an original copy of the Star Wars Christmas special and a VCR.
I have it on DVD. Thanks once more to our sponsor for this episode, Storyworth. Give your loved ones the gift of spending time together wherever you live with Storyworth. Get started right away with no shipping required by going to storyworth.com/TII. You'll get $10 off your first purchase. That's storyworth.com/TII for $10 off. And before we go today, I want to remind you to send your feedback to the show, 206-666-6364. That's 206-MOONDOG. Or record your feedback and email it to the show at todayinios@gmail.com. The feedback can be a question or comment for something someone said on this episode, or it can be a question or rant you have about something else. An app or product review, good or bad, as long as it is iOS related, is welcome, especially if you got the new Airpods Max. I'm always looking for new artwork to feature that you created on an iOS device. Just put some TII branding on it and send it in. And of course, we're always looking for more music created on an iOS device to play on the show. This is your show, and your feedback is greatly desired. Also, don't forget to check out our moderated MeWe community by going to todayinios.com/community. When you go there, you need to request to be added. I have 2 questions. The first one seems to quickly weed out the Android fanboys. I ask, which is the better OS, iOS or Android? And while the idiot Android fanboys can't bring themselves to say iOS, they either say both or Android, and instantly they are rejected. So yeah, it is a nice, safe Android fanboy free zone where you can ask questions or post articles about pretty much anything Apple related. And finally, check out the Tii app, which is free to you. Search for Tii in the iOS App Store. It is the best way to consume the show and to get push notifications each time a new episode for Tii is released. It is fully voiceover friendly, of course. Please go right now and download the Tii app to get the update. Until the next time, I'm your host, Rob, reminding you to social distance responsibly. And happy 2021 New Year.
The show is hosted on Libsyn.com and part of the Libsyn Media Network. If you are looking for podcast hosting, go to Libsyn.com. That is Libsyn.com for hosting for your podcast and creation of your own smartphone app. The Today in iOS podcast can be found everywhere you listen to podcasts. That includes Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Pandora, Overcast, Stitcher, and everywhere else you listen to audio.